how you understand visual input. To do this, I wanted to show you a scene from a famous scene from what's, at least in the U.S., a kind of famous movie. It's called Fargo. Okay, the reason I picked this scene is there's no dialogue in this scene. It's all visual. Nobody talks. And so I'll give you a quick kind of picture-by-picture walkthrough of the scene. So in this scene, there's a bad guy who has a bunch of money that he's not supposed to have, and he's being chased by a bunch of very violent other bad guys who want to take the money away from him. So he's in his car with the money, and he's driving on a country road in the middle of winter in Minnesota. Okay, and at some point he stops the car, he gets out with the big bag full of money. He goes over to the fence by the side of the road, and he digs a hole with a little ice scraper, the kind of thing you use to scrape the snow off your windshield. And he puts the satchel in the hole, and he buries it in snow. And then he looks to the right down the road, and he looks to the left down the road, and he sits there a minute and thinks, and you can see him thinking. And after he thinks for a minute, he takes his little ice scraper and he jams it into the ground, sticking up, right? And then the camera backs away, and you watch him walk back to his car and drive away. Now, so when you see this scene in the theater, people actually laugh because there's something funny about it. And you actually, if you can't understand what's funny about it, you actually haven't understood it. And again, to figure out what's funny about it, you have to connect up a whole lot of things causally together. You have to knit together a long story. And again, I took a kind of shot at this story. It's very crude. This guy's called Carl. So Carl has some money. Bad guys want the money. The bad guys are chasing him. If they catch him, they'll take the money. Carl thinks they will catch him. He wants to keep the money. If the bad guys take the money, Carl won't have the money. If Carl hides the money, he won't have it. And if he hides the money before the bad guys catch him, the bad guys won't be able to take it because he won't have it. So if he can retrieve the money from the hiding place later, he'll then have the money. To retrieve the money, he'll have to be able to find the hiding place. To find something, you need to search all the places where it could be. Many places on the road where Carl buried the money looked the same. Carl would have to search all those places in order to find the money. Carl doesn't want to search all those places because it would take too long. So one way to avoid having to search for something is to mark where it is. Carl wants to mark where the money is. One way to mark a location is to attach a unique object to it that you can recognize later, and so on and so forth. So you can see, and to get to what's funny, you have to realize that in order to be a successful marking of a location, you have to have something that A, you can see from far enough away to find it again, and B, that will stay there. Okay, and so both of those are questionable. So the reason this is funny is because the idea that he's going to drive along this hundreds of miles long stretch of road and spot this little red windshield scraper standing there when he comes back later are very low. So, but the big thing to notice here in terms of how a general AI would work is this looks a lot like the way we had to knit together things from natural language. It's very much the same process. So understanding is something that's not specifically how to deal with natural language. It's the way that an intelligent being processes the world, whatever the input is, whether it comes in visually or whether it comes in through language. The act of understanding it is mostly about sort of putting together these causal chains that connect everything up so that we understand how one thing leads to another, how one thing explains another, and so on and so forth.